We do a good bit of divorce law, deal with divorces, and what I want to talk about in this video, it's the 5th of June 2025, I think, down the Royal Canal here in Enfield, County Meath. I'm on a different side of the road to the one I usually am on. I'm usually over the far side. But it's just to do with the situation where a marriage breaks down and the couple decide they want a divorce. It's very, very easy to use the process or fall into the temptation to use the process to vent anger and resentment and so on, and ultimately put the boot in to the other party. The difficulty with that is that it's going to be costly in terms of time and in terms of money. We would encourage people to be sensible and pragmatic, and if the relationship has broken down and if the parties have decided that they want a divorce, well then they need to keep that in mind, and that the ultimate goal or outcome is a divorce with which they can both live with. The goal isn't to take the opportunity to put the boot into the other side and vent all of the anger and resentment you might feel about various issues or about the failings of the other party. So that's important. Later in this video I will refer to a YouTube video I've made there actually this morning. I'll publish it soon enough, but it's to do with a High Court case, a divorce case, where the assets of the marriage, which only lasted 5 years, came to about 1.25 million or 1.5 million. But because they went to the district court, the circuit court, and then on appeal to the High Court, they ended up spending $500,000 on legal costs. And the judge referred to this as being a cautionary tale for high conflict litigation proceedings. So anybody can engage in high conflict litigation, and they can go to and from court with regularity. They can give vent to all their anger and resentment about the other party and what they're doing and what they have done and so on. But it's going to cost. It's going to cost in money, and it's going to cost in time. And in our place, we would always encourage people to take a pragmatic, sensible view. If the relationship is over, if a divorce is what the parties want, then you need to be sensible, grown up, pragmatic, and not use the process as some sort of a way to try to settle old scores. That's not sensible. So, bottom line is, you either agree terms for a divorce with the other party, with the assistance and benefit of your legal advisor, or you go to court and leave yourself open to a ruling by a judge, and a judge will have to impose terms on the parties. And the great thing about coming to an agreement or agreeing terms is that the parties have some degree of control over what's agreed, whereas when it goes into court, they lose control. The judge has control then, and the judge will decide. So we'd always encourage people to be sensible, pragmatic, etc. That doesn't mean that we would expect people to be taken advantage of or roll over or give in. None of that. But all we're looking for is a fair deal, a sensible, fair deal, which is pragmatic and which recognises that neither party will get all of what they are looking for. And the ideal outcome, best outcome for a divorce, is on agreed terms. Where you go into a court, then you have the divorce ruled. You tell the judge that the parties have agreed terms, and the judge is delighted. Now the judge will go through the terms because the judge has to be satisfied that proper provision is being made for dependents and so forth. But you're far better off going into court with agreed terms than going into court with nothing agreed, fighting with the other party and leaving yourself at the mercy of the judge. That's not sensible.
In the next part of the video, I am referring to the High Court case about which I made a YouTube video, and I published that on my site as well, and it involved €500,000 of costs for the couple in a relatively short marriage.
Now, the parties were only married for 5 years, and the assets in the marriage came to about 1.5 million. But most of the assets had been acquired, or inherited rather, before the marriage. So the bottom line is, in a situation with a relatively short marriage of 5 years, with relatively small assets of 1.25 million or 1.5 million or thereabouts, to spend $500,000 on legal costs, legal fees, which is generally entirely avoidable, that doesn't make much sense. And that's something that we caution people against regularly. As I say, you can use the process, whether it's separation or divorce, you can use the process, that's the train now, to exact retribution, 1:30, to exact retribution on the other side, or satisfy your lust for having a go at the other party, or indulge yourself with having a go at the other party. But at the end of the day, it's just going to come down to you and the other party picking up the legal tab. So you're looking at significant expenditure, money and in time, and that's something that I caution against. You do have to be sensible, and obviously when we're representing clients, we don't allow them to be taken advantage of or taken for granted. But you would always be very mindful that the best way to get a divorce for the parties is on agreed terms, and not to go into court fighting and leaving themselves open then to a judge having to rule the situation. And that's essentially the alternative to agreeing terms. So just to be clear, if the parties who want a divorce can't agree terms for the divorce, well then a judge is going to have to make up their minds for them. The judge is going to have to impose terms and basically rule on all of the issues, contentious and otherwise. And it makes sense, if you're involved in a divorce, to keep as much control of the situation as you can. And that basically means if you come to an agreement with the other side, you're retaining a certain amount of control. Whereas if you can't come to an agreement, and if you want to get stuck in and vent your frustration and your anger and your resentment, well then A, it's going to cost you money, and B, you're running the risk of leaving yourself wide open to a judge making rulings, or a ruling with which you mightn't be satisfied. And that's a benefit or advantage of agreeing terms. So that's what I have to share today. It's common enough in divorce situations, or even if it's not a divorce, a relationship might break down and there's a row or a dispute about custody or access or maintenance, those types of things. To be constantly running back to the district court looking for orders for this and orders for that can soon get very costly. It's not much good for the parties, and it's certainly not much good for the children of the relationship. So I think that's something you need to consider as well. But in terms of a divorce, bottom line is you either agree terms for a divorce or you have terms imposed by a judge. It's your call, and it's far more cost effective to agree terms. Now, down the Canal bank here in Enfield, on the 5th of June 2025, and this camera today is the Osmo Pocket 4. So, hope you liked the video. If you do, I'd appreciate if you hit the thumbs up button down below. Thanks a lot. Anyway, it is 5th of June 2025. This video I'm making on my DJI Osmo Action 4 camera, which is different from the one I usually use. I usually use an Osmo Pocket 3 from DJI. This camera I'm using today just for a change, and I'm walking on the other side of the canal just for a change, is an action camera. It's the sort of camera you might use if you're cycling or skateboarding or running. And I could even put this camera into the canal there and this would be fine because it's waterproof up to a certain depth. So this is the action camera, as I say. I'm just using it today for a change. I normally use an Osmo Pocket 3. And today this is an Osmo Action 4. I'll leave a link underneath this video on my YouTube channel if you wanted to treat yourself to one and video yourself being involved in sports or whatever. It's similar to a GoPro, except in my view it's better. Anyway, it's a nice day. Nice day for a walk down the canal here in Enfield. It's the Royal Canal, and it's been lashing rain for much of the morning, but it's cleared now, and thankfully, hopefully I'll get back to the office before it rains again. Hope you liked the video.